Moses has escaped Egypt because he murdered an Egyptian, and that was discovered. We heard that yesterday. So he flees Egypt, and he ends up back near his father-in-law's home, where he's tending sheep, his father Jethro, and his father-in-law Jethro. And while he's tending the sheep, he notices a bush, some kind of tree or something that's on fire, but it doesn't seem to be consumed by the fire. It's not burning up. What a strange sight that would be. In fact, when I was a kid, there was a tree in our backyard that caught fire one day, and that's because my brother lit it on fire with some matches, so not quite the same thing. But in any event, Moses is curious, and he goes over to this bush, and he hears a voice. And the voice tells him, take off your shoes, which would have been something common on holy ground in the presence of God. And then the voice identifies himself as the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses would have been familiar with those names. God also reveals that these are the prayers of the Hebrew people in captivity, and that's his intention to send Moses to talk to the Pharaoh. That's a lot of information in one brief meeting. Moses, of course, has some reservations. How am I going to speak to Pharaoh? But in the end, really, he is open to God's will. Imagine that. He listens to this voice that seems to be coming from this strange sight. Tomorrow, he will continue his conversation with God, who will reveal more to him about his calling. You know, we believe that God speaks to us every day. How do we hear his voice? Well, it may not come from a supernatural event like fire in a burning bush or whatever, but it comes in many different ways. We hear God's voice through the people we love. First and foremost, I think, those who speak to us with charity and truth. We hear God's voice in the words of those who may challenge us to become better people. Those who forgive our transgressions might be the voice of God. Those who speak words of hope to us in difficult times. Now, those are the voices of God speaking to us in the midst of a very distracted world. God's voice, we believe, can be discerned in our prayer. Prayer is not simply saying words, but it's giving an opportunity for God to speak to us. And that requires silence and listening and reflecting. Reading the scriptures in a prayerful way. God speaks to us directly through the written word. And of course, in the various circumstances of daily life, we have to discern, what is God speaking to me about in this event? So all of this requires an open heart and an open soul. And if we move through the day distracted and anxious, fearful, resentful, then it's unlikely we're going to hear God speaking to us. But if we open our minds and hearts and we do our best to put aside those thoughts and distractions, we will hear the voice of our Lord speaking to us in the depths of our heart. Then, like Moses, all we have to do